This is really cool, guys. Wow. This is wild. You guys have no idea how cool this space is. Okay, so a couple of things that I need to fill you in on really quick. I'm not really a big fan of doing introductions. I kind of think that if you make content, you should let your personality shine through the content that you create instead of explaining who you are. So this video is going to be the one and only time I introduce myself. I put out some feelers for a Q&A on Instagram. I didn't give people a lot of time. They've only had about 3 hours or so. I'm fine with it. We're moving on. Think I should put this here. The Q&A is coming up in a second, but first, let me explain who I am and where I am. Hello, my name is Levi. Someone asked if I was married. I am married. My last name is Cyr-Redcross. I'm a photographer with little to no experience. Most of the photographers and content creators that I know have been shooting photos for the past 10 years or something like that, and I'm nowhere near that level. I started shooting photos maybe 4 years ago? 3 years? I don't know. This is wild. This is so good. I was working at a high school at the time, and someone from marketing came up to me and asked me if I had ever used a DSLR camera. I said no. They said, great, you're now the school photographer. My partner had an old Canon TI-1 that I could play around with. I started shooting photos of sports and I was hooked. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a term called GAS, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. I fell deep into that. And credit card debt. Bought myself a camera body, 3 new lenses, actually 4 lenses if you count the 70 to 200 millimeter 2.8. Everything that I shot at the time was digital. Nowadays, I just shoot a lot of film. Oh, but Levi, how did you get into film photography? Thank you for asking. I will tell you, audience. About a year into my new habit, my mother realized I was really getting into photography and had a couple of cameras that her grandfather owned. As it turns out, photography is in the family. So I made the drive home to go visit my mother, and she gave me a Nikon F2 in complete working condition. Fellas! I hope all of you are just as fortunate to find a camera in your family. Like, if you're going to get into film photography, the very first thing that you need to do is ask your relatives if they have a camera that you can use, borrow, keep, whatever. I sincerely hope, I pray that you are fortunate enough to come across a camera as good as the Nikon F2. I shot my first roll of film in that camera and I was hooked. These days, whenever I go out shooting for personal reasons, I always reach for a film camera just because those are the types of cameras that inspire me. After the Nikon F2, the rest of my family realized that I was really getting into photography, and they all also had cameras from my great grandfather. So I ended up inheriting a Nikon FM2, a Rolleiflex, a Leica, a Petri, and a whole bunch of other miscellaneous cameras. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm Levi, film photographer and content creator. What next? What next? I swear I'm going to get to the Q&A in just a minute, but first I want to talk about my setup. At the moment, I'm really good at making short form video. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I can pump out like 10 short form videos in one day if I wanted to. But I suck at making long form because it's hard. It's really difficult. One of the biggest barriers for me shooting a YouTube video is that I have to actually record those things outside because I personally do not have a studio space. Enter BevCam. Oh, I'm definitely adding reverb to that in post. BevCam is a lot of things, but specifically, it's a studio space that can be rented out by the residents of Beverly to shoot pretty much anything that they want for just $25 a year at the time of this recording. I think that having a go-to studio space like this is going to significantly reduce the barrier to creating content for someone like me. Are all of my videos going to look like this? No, I don't think so. This is my first time in this space. I spent about 50 minutes with Chris, the video and sound guy, just figuring out where the lights should be, figuring out where I want the camera to be, and all of that kinds of stuff. As I continue to create more videos in this space, then maybe I'll add some decoration, a desk over here, a bookcase back there. I don't know, it could be anything, but I'm definitely open to suggestions to fill the empty space. You leave your comments down in the doobly-doo. Also, because this is my first time in this space, I am recording on like 10 devices right now. So BevCam has 3 cameras here. I'm only using 2 of them. So that way we can have a wide and a tight shot. Wide shot, tight shot, You get the picture. But also because it's my first time using these cameras and I don't know what the video footage is gonna look like, I'm recording on my personal camera. So if it looks like I'm not looking directly into the lens, it's because of that. Lastly, I've got the lav mic and my personal Blue Yeti. I've really grown to love the sound. Dang it, dang it, dang it. I've really grown to love the sound that comes out of the Blue Yeti, but I did want to test all of the gear possible, so I am using a lav mic from BevCam. Let's do a quick comparison. Here's what my voice sounds like coming out of the Blue Yeti, and here's what my voice sounds like coming from the lav mic. Ba ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. Okay, thank you so much for sticking around this long. Congratulations, you've made it to the Q&A section. Dude, retention on this video is going to be a bust. The most commonly asked question is, what inspires you? That's a tricky question to answer. There are things that push me to create. Inclement weather, like rain or dense fog. I love going out and shooting photos in those conditions. Also, people. I find a lot of people to be really beautiful inside and out, and I always want to make photos of them, but I'm a little bit too scared to ask. So those are 2 things that make me want to like get up and shoot. But I learned a little while ago that I can't rely on motivation or inspiration in order to create stuff. Whether I want to make art or content, I can't rely on my emotions to fuel that for me. You know what I'm saying? I am committed to the process of creating, even if I don't feel like creating. I love doing this stuff, but sometimes I have to push myself without relying on inspiration to do that. What is my dream camera? You know, honestly, in a lot of ways, I feel like I already have my dream camera. I've got a Leica, which is considered to be like the creme de la creme of film cameras. I've got a Rolleiflex 2.8D, which I love dearly. I don't really have a desire for a Hasselblad. Ironically, a big upgrade that I would like to make in the very near future is a digital camera. I'm rocking the Canon EOS R. I have no idea how old that camera is, but the capability is limited. I'd like to see myself upgrade to like an EOS R6 or a 5 Mark II. Okay, so rapid fire. Married? Yes. Kids? No. Background? You already heard it. College? No. Current job? Not telling you. 100% content creator? Not yet. Am I planning a zine? No. Or is it zine? Do you pronounce it? Is it pronounced zine? Do you sell prints? Yes. Yeah, I sell prints. Purchasing a print from me is the best way to support me. I do not make money from creating content. If you're someone that really wants to support me, the best way to do that is by buying a print off of my website. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. I haven't been selling many prints recently, and I don't know what's up with that. Oh well, keep on pushing, I guess. Will you ever introduce us to your partner? Maybe. I think that's really up to my partner. If you do a little bit of scrolling on Instagram, you can find videos with my partner in it, but there isn't really any formal introduction. What do you shoot more, digital or film? I shoot so much film. The only time I shoot digital these days is when I'm getting paid for it. Otherwise, it's Rolleiflex all day, baby. Do you prefer 35mm or medium format? I think it really depends on the situation. The Leica M3 is a 35mm camera, and I love shooting that camera just because of the way that it feels. But more often than not, whenever I shoot 35mm film, I find myself orienting most of my photos vertically. And I don't hate vertical photos, but I do feel like I'm influenced by Instagram and TikTok's vertical video content. I make a lot of content, and it's much easier to share vertical photos than it is to share horizontal photos. That's why I love shooting on the Rolleiflex so much. It's a 6x6 square, which means I can't choose between vertical and landscape photos. So there's far less of a bias whenever I'm shooting. Sure, I can crop it later, but I don't really think about it when I'm shooting. Do I develop all of my own film myself? Yes. I also scan all of my own film. What are my long-term goals when it comes to photography? Oof, that's a rough one. I think that I'm so focused on content creation right now that my goals on photography tend to be a little bit short-sighted. I would like to lead up to a bigger photography project, but it's really difficult to do that with my super low income. Am I allowed to say that? Are content creators allowed to say that? I suck at saving too, so it's my own fault. There are some complicated concepts I've thought of, but they're always under the guise of creating content to go with the photography. Let me think more about this question. I'll get back to you later. What is my favorite film stock? That's really tricky. It's situational. Ilford XB2 is an excellent film stock if you're going to be shooting up close, like macro photos. The grain structure is a little chunky, but it's crisp and sharp, so it makes a really nice image. For a smoother black and white film, I'm obviously going to go with Ilford Delta 100. It's the best film stock. And that's a hill I'll die on. Fight me. And for color film, I have genuinely, honestly, been enjoying Kodak Ultramax shot at 100 ISO. I think I might be losing my mind. The colors that come out of it are just like, they're so tasty. Ooh, what changes did you make to your Leica? So I sent my Leica out to Pro Camera in Charlottesville, Virginia. A guy named Ryan Jones did the repair for me. Great guy, great camera technician. The reason that I did the modification is because I have this really large 7 Artisans 1.1 aperture lens. And the collar of the lens, where it connects to the camera, was too big, but I really wanted to use that lens. The lens lock button is really close to the lens barrel on a Leica M3. So what Ryan offered to do was just shave that down a little bit. He actually replaced the original lens lock button with another one so that if I wanted to return my camera to completely original parts, I can. Now that lens fits, and other lenses fit, so I'm pretty happy about it. And the purists will hate me for it. The purists will hate me for modifying a Leica. Give me a second to pat myself on the back here. I have no questions, but just wanted you to know that your enthusiasm in your videos is infectious. Keep it up. The reason I'm like this in my videos is because I'm actually like this in real life, but I'm also like this in my videos because I see a lot of film photographers who are so low energy, and I don't want to be like that. Film photography is fun. Can we act like it? Like, can we move around a little bit more? Literally every single film photographer is like being held at gunpoint making these videos. But not me. I'm the crazy one. You can count on me to bring the energy. Hey man, I gotta be honest, I started following you not too long ago, but you always popped up on my suggestions. Your content was always interesting, so I decided to follow you. I'm glad I did. I found my grandfather's Rolleiflex, but I'm too scared to shoot. Come on, bro, just shoot with it, bro. I've never shot 120 film, and I'm just a newbie. I'm pretty new too. Just shoot. It's gonna be okay, I promise. Do you have some tips for my first roll or something? Would you suggest to avoid mistakes? I wanna nail it. For your first roll of film, you're gonna wanna shoot Portra 400 or HP5. Portra is really expensive, and a lot of people are going to tell you not to shoot with Portra for your first roll of film. Here's why I disagree. Both of the film stocks I just mentioned, Portra 400 and HP5, are high latitude film stocks. High latitude means that you can make a pretty big mistake, and there's a good chance your photos are still gonna come out. Shoot with one of those 2 film stocks. HP5 is cheaper, so it's probably the go-to. Download a light meter on your phone so you can get exposure right, and just go shoot. It's gonna be loads of fun, I promise. What's the best camera for beginner photographers? I'm really sorry, but it's so hard to make suggestions about cameras, especially with film cameras. They are so incredibly versatile and personalized. You got SLR, you got rangefinder, TLR, view cameras, all of them are so different, and it comes down to personal preference. I usually tell people to try an SLR first because they're really reliable and easy to tell what you're focusing on and easy to make your composition on. But hey man, it's whatever you want. Favorite photographers, I'm gonna be super basic. Van Ho, Gordon Parks, Tiny Harris. Oh man, do you have any other creative pursuits, hobbies besides photography? Yeah. Photography feels less and less like a hobby. It feels much more like a job to me right now. Like, I get paid to make photos, and then I make photos for content, so it all falls into work. I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's still work. A lot of my hobbies have fallen to the wayside. Like, I used to really enjoy knitting. I've got like 3 scarves and a sock on the needle right now. But I haven't done a lot of that recently, and I want to get back into it. And I will, I promise. But I'm working really hard on photography right now. Bro, what is your sun and moon rising? That's such a funny question. I'm a Pisces, Scorpio rising. I don't know what that says about me. I think that means I'm like high energy or something. I don't know. Why film only? People actually ask me this a lot. Why do I only shoot film? The answer is I don't know. And I get really annoyed when other people answer this question by saying, oh, it's because of the grain, it's because of the way the colors look. You can get any color and grain structure that you want on a digital camera. I sincerely believe that. There is genuinely no reason for me to be shooting film. Digital cameras just don't inspire me the same way that film cameras do. I like the way that film cameras feel when I shoot them. I like being limited to only 12 shots on a roll of film. I like the fact that I don't get a second chance. And I like the film camera bodies. You're not gonna find a twin lens reflex in a digital camera. For every single purpose, a digital camera is 100% more convenient and more reliable than a film camera. But I like shooting film because I like the way that it feels. I'm not sorry. So yeah. This is the new setup. This is what this is gonna look like. I'm really excited to get in the studio and create more videos like this. I'm hoping this becomes a weekly thing. We'll see. I think that's it. Okay, I think I'm done. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay. All right, bye. Bye. I recently discovered this place called BevCam, which is in the city that I live in, and they have a studio space with a big old question mark. Why is there a question mark behind? That's actually kind of cool. What else can you project? Whatever we print is what is there. That's actually dope. I might consider that later on.